Well, hello and welcome to SanAngeloLive.com. This is a special edition, Decision 22 edition of, it's pretty much of our election coverage.
2022. The election
Yes.
is sneaking up on us. I know it's Halloween, but this really is a legitimate time to be thinking about who's going to be leading our city and county and country starting next year.
Most definitely, most definitely. Well, to get us started, I'm Manny Diaz alongside Yanis Green, and we are excited to pretty much talk a little bit about this because today, Joe Hyde, our former publisher of San Angelo Live, has a huge announcement to make. And when I mean huge, it's Donald Trump-esque, 45-esque, to say the least. We will take his announcement live here momentarily from the steps of a downtown location. I'll just leave it at that. So that way we're not spoiling the surprise. I'm sure most folks do know what's going on by now. But as we kind of get into that, let's kind of talk a little bit about a race, Yanis, that is, I guess, that's heating up, so to speak, because there's 5 candidates in this particular race, and I think this is probably a race that probably the most contested in the area, certainly in Tom Green County, and that is for Precinct 4 County Commissioner of Tom Green County, and we have a lot, and certainly with the guy that we know pretty well, Bill Ford, he is the incumbent here.
That's correct. It's been a long time since we've had a race that's been so contested, with especially with an incumbent sitting commissioner in Bill Ford, Precinct 4, which is the southwestern quadrant of Tom Green County. Mm-hmm. And he has 4 challengers. Bill has not actually announced his bid officially for re-election, but he has said publicly that he's running again. And those 4 candidates are from that area, 2 from the Christoval area and 2 from the Dove Creek area.
Yeah. Speaking of those candidates, let's go ahead and take a look at who some of these guys are, because there's quite a bit. There's 4 of them here. And as you can see, there's Sean Nanny, resident of the Dove Creek area, president of the Christoval School Board. Lori Wilson also lives out in Dove Creek, very active on social media, connections to law enforcement, no political experiences, promises to be a full-time commissioner. Then you have Dusty Barton, Christoval native, Christoval School Board member, and then Kevin Coco Simpson, a certified public accountant, active in conservative politics, a mom, no political experiences. And with a lot, so we're seeing four. I think everyone has certainly their place to run for political office, but this one, they're challenging a guy who's been here for quite some time.
That's true, and it's a difficult thing to commit to running a political race, to getting involved and to put your name out there and take the risk of putting your whole life and your family's lives out there in public. This is a big undertaking for all 4 of them, and that shows you the dedication that they have. Again, 2 of them have served on the school board. They're all very interested in politics, and this is going to be a heck of a Republican primary in Tom Green County.
Yeah. So at this point, no Democrats running.
No Democrats. This is a true red Republican country, and Tom Green County is one of the reddest counties in the state. It's one of the most conservative and Republican bastion areas of the state. All of the elected officials in Tom Green County have been Republican for a number of years, just like the state of Texas, where all of the statewide elected offices are held by Republicans and have been since 1994. Yeah. So Democrats are few and far between. Yeah. They are here. They are out there, and of course they're supporters of the current administration, and there is certainly time for a Democrat to enter the race. They would have their own primary, and then the winner of that primary and the Republican primary would meet up in November. Mm-hmm. But so far, the Democrats in Tom Green County have been quiet.
Yeah. Well, and you and I, we were having a conversation about this the other day. The fact that, years and years ago, certainly when it comes to state races in the state of Texas, that, politicians, they would fly into San Angelo, they'd go into the hangar, they'd have a little meet and greet, and they'd wave goodbye and then jump back on the plane and head somewhere else, likely, some metropolitan city in Texas. Now that's not the case anymore. They take San Angelo and West Texas very seriously.
San Angelo and Tom Green County has been, thanks to a lot of hard work from a lot of people like former Republican Party Chairman Jeff Betty and his wife and their team, this county has become a force in Republican politics, and that's why you have candidates for statewide offices who come here and go to luncheons here and hold press conferences here. And you're right, years ago it was they would fly into the airport, they would be here 15 minutes and leave. Now, for instance, at lunch today, we've got Eva Guzman, who is going to be at the Concho Valley Republican Women Luncheon today. She is a former Texas Supreme Court justice who is running for Texas Attorney General, and that's also another very highly contested race with some highly qualified folks in there.
And Ken Paxton is currently the guy that sits in that seat.
Ken Paxton is in that seat, and he has had some challenges, some legal challenges, and I think that has opened the door for some competition, and that's what elections are for. Is to we try to make sure that the best person is in that job, and certainly Ken Paxton is there doing a good job and fighting for us right now.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of go back to Precinct 4, because I think we see a lot of this from the southern area of the county, certainly within Cristoval and Dove Creek, Knickerbocker, and those areas of Tom Green County. And I think a lot of these candidates, the biggest thing they say is they want to fix the roads, but there appears to be much more than a dilemma with the roads that are impacting, certainly when it's impacting this position when it comes to being a county commissioner.
Well, that's correct. And, one of the biggest issues facing the county commission, and not just in Tom Green County, but across the state, is criminal justice. And that's the biggest thing that commissioners' courts are assigned to take care of, is the court system and the jail. And those are very expensive endeavors, but they're required by the state of Texas. Basically, county government is state government at the local level. The county commissioner's court is the administrative body that oversees county government. The biggest part of that, again, you look downtown, the biggest building down there for the county is the courthouse, and that's where criminal justice takes place. That's where we have a docket of criminal and civil cases that's backed up. We have 4 district judges, district attorneys that are working through that system, and the commissioners basically administer raising funds to see that criminal justice takes place, and that's the biggest thing. But roads are a part of what commissioners do as well.
Right, but not the only thing.
That's not the only thing, and it's not the biggest thing.
Right.
Former Commissioner Aubrey de Cordova would tell me that roads can't get you elected, but roads can get you unelected. So that's
very true.
It is
that's very true.
There is a sort of a tightrope as a commissioner you have to walk with roads.
Well, Matt Trammell, who's pushing the buttons on this show this morning, hey, let's take a quick live look at the podium there in downtown San Angelo. And with this here, this is momentarily, this is the upcoming announcement that we are talking about this morning, a big announcement coming from Joe Hyde, as we will go back to downtown momentarily, but this is a live look at pretty much where this is all going down this morning. Announcement is expected in about 5 minutes or so at 10:30, so you want to stick around with us in the meantime. Yanis, this is an interesting race because, well, for one, we talk about the county commissioners too, which I think this is kind of like preluding to what our announcement is. But for Tom Green County Judge, Steve Floyd has been in this position for quite some time now. Tell me first and foremost, because there's one already, well, there's 2 that have filed paperwork to enter the race for Tom Green County Judge. First and foremost, tell me what's involved in the Tom Green County Judge, because this is an elected position. You don't necessarily have to have a law degree, so to speak.
That's correct.
Enlighten us.
You don't have to be an attorney to be a county judge. That's one of two elected statutory positions in counties that are judicial in nature that you do not have to have a degree in law. The other is justice of the peace, and the justices of the peace are up for election as well. We'll be talking about them as the time goes on and those candidates, and we, of course, interviewed Ron Perry yesterday, who's
absolutely.
running for justice of the peace. But the county judge is the chief administrator who oversees the commissioner's court. He runs the meetings, which are court proceedings. He is the presiding judge on an administrative court. But he does a lot more. The county judge does a lot more than that. He does mental evaluations and assignments, oversees the county budget. He actually writes the county budget or sees that the county budget is written. And the county judge has to interact with the other 26 elected officials in the county. So there's 27 elected officials who work for the county, and each has their own little department. And they're all independent, elected by the voters. And the county judge's job is to wrangle all of those and to write a budget that funds all those statutory operations, as well as the parts of the county that are not required by the Constitution. Wow. So it's a big job.
There's quite a bit involved. So, I mean, it's almost like, I guess if there's a comparison to it, it's like a mayor of a city. So if Brenda Gunner, I mean, she's obviously the mayor of the city of San Angelo. So it's in some aspects very similar to that.
It is similar, but there are some major differences. It's more like the San Angelo's a home rule city, and it has a strong city manager. Mm-hmm. And like a school district has a superintendent.
Okay.
And those are employees, full-time professional employees of the district and the city, whereas the county judge is elected by the people. He is also a full-time employee of the county, and he doesn't have a superintendent or a city manager to do his work for him. That is actually the position that he takes, and it's a full-time, hands-on job.
So if for someone that may be running for this position, you might look at someone who's run a successful company, who's been in some leadership type positions. I think that's kind of what it kind of boils down to.
It really does. You've got to. The job requires that you have a competent understanding of how to write a budget, but you also have to have an immense ability to deal with people on a personal level, because you have those 26 other elected officials are your peers in a way, and your only tie to them is budgetary. Mm-hmm. You approve a budget that they present to you, and so that job is very complex. You also have to work with other county judges around the state. There are 254 counties in Texas. Each one has a county judge, and they all work together to help guide the legislature and the legislative process, because counties can't do anything that the legislature doesn't allow them to do. So every 2 years the legislature meets, whether that's a good or a bad thing, and those legislators in Austin decide what laws the county has to enforce and has to live by. And it's a very narrow path. It has to be written down in law before a county judge or a commissioner's court or any other elected official can actually do something like that. So the job is not only locally, but also in partnership with other county judges and commissioners across the state to improve state law, hopefully.
Wow. So Steve Floyd, that's been his full-time job for some time now that he's been judge of Tom Green County. And I tell you, he absorbed a lot, just a ton of things, certainly during COVID-19 and what we went through in 2020. I mean, certainly with him and Brenda Gunner and what they had to do to kind of get us out of this and get business going. Would you have wanted to been a judge during that time, or any type of political figure during that time?
I would not, and that is because it was such uncharted territory. Now, the county judge is the emergency manager I think we need to go to
All right.
Joe to the announcement.
Looks like we will take a break from that. We will table that, and we will go out to Joe Hyde live from the Tom Green County Courthouse steps.
Y'all can, let's gather behind me. Let's make it look good for the cameras. What do you think? Y'all not live yet, are you? Oh no. Hopefully I can,
We'll come back to y'all for a little bit.
that means it's going to be a good day. Good morning, and thank you for coming here to Tom Green County Courthouse for the announcement. My name is Joe Hyde. I'm the former publisher of a news publication called Angelo Live here. And today I'm announcing my candidacy for the Republican nomination for County Judge of Tom Green County. I'm not from San Angelo, but my wife and I and our kids, we got here as fast as we could after getting out of the Air Force. I spent 14 years active duty, 6 years reserve as a combat bomber pilot for the United States Air Force. I've been all around the world, solved some difficult issues in the military, particularly saving my own butt or my life. And that gave me an open heart to service before self. And of course, that's one of the core values that we learn in the military, service above self. And after I got out of the Air Force, I became an entrepreneur because, you know, the international things that happened after 9/11 took away the airline opportunity. So I had to be a swashbuckling entrepreneur to survive. And through all that, I see our country in lots of places. I feel like right now we're in a crisis, and we need people in the military to step up and offer themselves to serve their country. And I approach this with a lot of humility. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you have to, you know, bow your chest out and be real tough and those kinds of things. But public service is different. Public service is different. And I'm looking for people in Tom Green County to look at my campaign and consider hiring me to be your next county judge. Some of the issues that are facing us in the county are, first of all, I view our county government as the last bastion of defense between your pursuit of happiness and overreach from Austin or for even the federal government. I also see the state is not just a battle between right and left, Republican and Democrat, but rural versus urban. And because San Angelo doesn't sit on the I-35 corridor, we're considered a rural county. And I think these rural counties, we need to have strong leadership at the top who can take their case to Austin and argue against those types of laws that they're passing that might be good for an urban center, but very bad for San Angelo and Tom Green County. The second issue I see coming is we're going to have rapid land inflation, and we got to be very careful about the tax rates. I guarantee you one thing. Under a Joe Hyde County Judge administration, I will lower your tax rate. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to have land inflation, and the value of all the property in Tom Green County is going to go up. It's just a matter of fact. That's nationwide, even international. The problem comes in when you're playing the spread of how much you're going to reduce the taxes. You know, you got to look at the gross amount of taxes people are paying. That way the bankers have the ability to loan more money so you can build nicer buildings, build nicer homes, even, you know, fix your home up. And if we're going into a moment of economic uncertainty, you need someone who's going to be tough enough to be able to say no to a lot of people who are going to putting pressure on him to raise spending at the county. Realize that a county judge has 27 elected officials plus a whole bunch of head of departments, and all of them are looking to you to raise the budget of the county or increase the spending of the county to give them, you know, what they need for their budgets. I'm not afraid to say no. And I think a lot of people know I've taken a lot of arrows in this town over the last 8 years. They don't scare me. Last I'm a conservative Republican. I am pro-life. I believe in the Second Amendment. And one more thing. There will never be an agenda item that even considers changing the name of this county while I'm county judge. Finally, I will shoot it to you straight, and I will never lie to you. So I hope that you consider supporting the campaign and my candidacy for Tom Green County Judge. Thank you. And my wife, I'm going to introduce her. This is Judy. She's my wife. I would bring my kids, but they're all grown. I got one who's a junior at Texas A&M. The other two are grown, but they'll be here. We have to come back to the home plate to get pictures and stuff like that. But this is my wife, Judy Hyde. And one more thing. You know I'm a tech guy, so the website's got to be complicated, right? But my website address is Joe Hyde. Now, how do you get there? It's joehy.de. So if you're from Wall, I'm trying to reach out to the German side of me, right? .de. But joehy.de is my website. Thank you. Is there any questions or anything? I'll take questions. We have 3 members of the press. What about you, Mr. Rotman? I love putting you guys on the spot. Okay. Well, I've always had the place in my heart that I would serve serve my country or my county, my city, if I felt I needed to. I would have 3 months ago I would have told you you're crazy if you think I'm going to run for office. But a lot of things have happened over basically the last 7 or 8 months that have changed my mind on that. Particularly, I'll just give you a very personal story. I was down in McAllen, Texas with Governor Abbott, and we're covering a story about Trump coming to the unfinished border wall, right? And since I was in the news media, we were sequestered from all of the people in the audience, and the people in the audience were like the congressional delegation from Texas. You had a lot of state reps, a lot of senators. The Attorney General was there, Lieutenant Governor was there. But I was behind the gate. Of course, I was on the front row because I always try to get the front row. And but the guy right next to me was a reporter named Jim Acosta from CNN. I don't know if you ever heard of him, right? And he was just being the biggest jerk. And I was sitting back there thinking, I can either record history as my country goes down the tubes, or I can get in the ring and try to do something to fix it. And I decided right then and there that I wanted to be in the ring. I didn't want to be sitting back with Jim Acosta, fighting those guys. I'd rather be bringing some innovation and some tough, strong leadership, because that's what we need right now. I mean, we need someone who's going to be tough and strong, who's going to be able to say no to spending, going to hold the line on taxes. And also, I mean, what's going to happen if we have a crisis here? We need someone who's been through heck and back to handle that crisis. And like I said, I mean, this is a complete different way for my brain to think, because, I mean, we've been competitors, right? We've been competitors for 8 years. You always boat up your chest and always, we're the best. But now it's like, I'm humble. I mean, I really am. This is a humbling experience for me to announce that I'm going to be. You can come out and judge me, and you can say terrible things about me. You know how they are, but I'm ready, and I want to put myself out there to work for this county, and I'll do a good job for it. Anything else? Well, the biggest thing is for Tom Green County is you got to realize the county judge can work around the edges. Things are pretty much set in place. And what you have to watch for in Tom Green County is letting parts of that organism, and it's an institution, and you got to protect the institution, but at the same time, you don't want to get out of control and rule the taxpayers. The voters own the county, right? The voters own the county. The county doesn't own the voters. And that's the way I look at it. The biggest issue facing us right now in the county, and it might be fixed by the time this election goes on, but we have a criminal justice crisis right now. And the way you can tell we have a criminal justice crisis is look at the jail. We just built a $63 million jail. All right, it's got 103 more beds than the old jail does, and it's full. In fact, I believe I know they're outsourcing beds to other counties to the tune of $60, $65 a night per inmate. That can get real expensive and add up very quickly. And the next thing you know, guess what they're doing? We don't have any money in the county, we got to raise your taxes, right? And how are you going to feel about that? Especially after you spent $63 million on a new jail. So the reason why it's doing that is because the court dockets are basically locked up because of COVID. And it's not just Tom Green County. I'm going to wait for this ambulance. It's not just because of Tom Green County. It doesn't happen just in Tom Green County. It's happening everywhere. You can talk to the leadership in Harris County, Dallas County, Travis County. You can go to Midland, Abilene, Taylor County. They're having the same problem. Our court dockets are backed up because we haven't been holding jury trials because of COVID. Everyone's worried about wearing a mask. We have to have a large enough meeting place to assemble these large juries. We have some people in our jail right now who've been sitting waiting trial for over 3 years, okay? When you have that kind of thing happening and your jail's full and you're outsourcing those beds to other counties, what's eventually going to happen is the police officer is going to drop the guy who the alleged assaulter off at the jail, and the jail have to release him within a couple of days, and then the police officer has to put himself back in harm's way to arrest that guy again because he's going to do something else. We got to get that jail under control, and the way we do it is get the docket going, get the jury trials going, and the county judge doesn't directly direct that, but if you have a strong leader at the top who can use like this little plexiglass thing, use this as a bully pulpit to explain to the taxpayers, to you guys, here's the problem we're working on. Help me. And I think that if you're working for good, that things will come together and we could probably solve it faster than anyone else. Anything else? Thank y'all very much for coming out. I really appreciate it. All righty.
All righty. Joe Hyde officially, making it official, so to speak, as he enters the race for Tom Green County Judge, and said a lot of interesting things. What'd you say, Yanis?
Absolutely. He's right dead on about the court docket and that being a crisis here in the county. It takes leadership. It takes someone who is not afraid to say no, which is exactly what Joe said. It is going to be an interesting race. He has obviously done his homework and knows the issues. So this will be an interesting next 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, let's take a look at Joe Hyde, the candidate, if you will, as Trammell, if we want to take a look at him. And because, Joe is a 20-year Air Force veteran. He's a B-52 combat instructor pilot. That's his military background. As a civilian software engineer, entrepreneur, founder of the website StAngeloLive.com. He's a very published writer. If you've read a lot of the things he's over the years. He's a 20-year Rotarian, vice chair of Discover San Angelo, and of course, he wanted to make sure that we put this in, that we made mention of this. He's a 1986 graduate of Texas A&M University. So Joe Hyde officially now a candidate for Tom Green County Judge. Yanis, this whole thing, what Joe was saying, first and foremost, let's get into the tax rate of this. He said he's lowering the tax rate. I mean, when politicians say these type of things, what goes through your mind?
Well, it takes a very strong-willed person to say that, but to look at what is coming up when he said that the properties are going to elevate in value, the property values are going up in Tom Green County, and that that will allow for to raise the same amount of money. You can actually lower the tax rate to raise that same gross amount of money, which is what he was talking about. In the past, previous commissioners' courts have just kept the tax rate the same while the appraisals go up. Mm-hmm. And the result of that was the average homeowner was paying more property tax, and the county was getting more revenue and expanding the size and scope of government, which is that you call that mission creep, right, in government and in bureaucracy. So that is a tough task to say you're going to lower the property tax rate, and it's a very bold task, and it takes a very bold person and candidate to say, I know that's an issue, and I'm telling you right now, if you vote for me, that's what I'm going to do. So that's stepping out there, taking a stance. When he says that the county government is the last bastion of defense for local folks, for people against the overreach of government, by saying, I'm going to reduce the property tax rate, he's taking that stand, and that is very bold and very, very forward-looking.
Absolutely, and the fact that, because it oversees such a, Tom Green County is such a big county. There's a lot of people that are in multiple areas of the county, and he was saying that he's not afraid to say no. Joe's a businessman. He's been a businessman, I think, for all of his life, so to speak. Certainly, while he was in the Air Force and in his civilian life, as a successful entrepreneur, for him to say that, if you were, just a regular old voter, let's take away Yanis Green, the editor-in-chief of San Angelo Live, but when you hear of a guy that's saying these type of things, does that make you feel good that there's somebody that's had a successful business mind, not afraid to say no to certain things?
Absolutely, and if you look at his background, that being a combat veteran, a combat pilot. That says a lot about his personality, that he could go through the training and the years of that it takes to become a pilot, number one, and then to endure combat as a pilot. That tells me that he's got the kind of experience that you're going to have when you that you want, certainly in a county judge, if we have another COVID crisis, another pandemic, or something like that. That was, again, uncharted territory. And previously, the county judges have come up through the ranks of the commissioner's court, and they've been there and seen what's gone on, and sort of kept the ship going the same way that the predecessors had sort of directed it. And now that without an incumbent, without someone from the commissioner's court stepping up, you've got to have someone with a bold leadership style who has looked at these issues and says, this is the direction I want to take the county, and not someone who is going to say, okay, well, things are okay the way they are, and I'll learn along the way.
Right. Well, the other guy that's in this race, Mr. Todd Coles, he's also a business owner himself. He's a jewelry store owner. He served on the City of San Angelo Economic Development Board, I believe, as a vice president on that particular board that administers the half-cent sales tax. He's also a member of the board a board member of the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo. I think if you're to be critical of both of these candidates here, I think it's, they're entrepreneurs. They do this. They've accomplished some things, but for them, they don't have political experience. But that may not be such a bad thing. Joe Hyde has without favoring him, we're here to kind of tell it as it is right down the line, but with what his experience says, certainly being able to lead in the military, that speaks volumes.
That's true, and we were talking about the candidates for County Commissioner Precinct 4 earlier. we have almost an embarrassment of really good quality candidates running for office, and not every place can say that. We have quality people. Todd Coles is a business owner. He's been with the Economic Development Corporation, which is not an easy task either, spending sales tax dollars and really struggling to and competing with other cities the same size to increase our economic development. That's a tough job, and it takes a special kind of person to do that as well. Being on the stock show and rodeo board, that's kind of like herding cats. There's things are going in all different directions, and it takes a steady hand there. So we have this open seat for county judge has drawn some quality candidates, and this is going to be a heck of a race. There is a guy out there, Lane Carter.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth here, yeah.
Lane is a city councilman, and he has shown an interest in running. He has not officially filed anything about running for county judge, but there's another guy who stepped out of the being just a civilian and stepped into the political realm and of being a public servant. And again, another quality guy if he chooses to run for county judge. This is going to be a tough decision. Yeah. But there are quality guys out there, people running, and there's still room for more. The actual sign-up date, depending on who you talk to, is from November 13th to December 13th for the county positions. So there could be other candidates show up, and that's the thing about democracy. The more the merrier. You put your name in the hat. That takes a lot of courage.
Certainly.
But the guys that we have running now are, you have to search long and hard to find better candidates.
Certainly,
than we have right now.
So election day for these gentlemen, because this begins a long road of now campaign. They hit the campaign trail, so to speak, in Tom Green County. When are we looking at election day to where we could see one of these fine men being named as Tom Green County judge?
It is a journey. It is an odyssey. Starting this fall, starting today for Mr. Hyde, the primary election for the Republican primary for county judge will be March 1st. Unless some lawsuits over redistricting affect the state. But it looks like right now that the Republican primary in Texas is March 1st. Mm-hmm. So they have until March 1st to convince you to vote for them. And the process, that would also apply to a Democrat candidate if one were to want to run for county judge. The dates are the same. But they would have their own separate primary. These are party primaries. The Republican primary is one election, and the Democrat primary would be another election, held on the same day at the same place, but still separate elections. And once you survive the primary election, March 1st, and all those votes are counted, there is a possibility that there would be a runoff if you had more than two candidates. And the top two vote getters, if the top candidate didn't get 50% or more of the vote, then the top two would go to a runoff election, which would be held in May. Now, barring a runoff, if there is a Democrat candidate or an independent candidate or a write-in candidate, those would face off with the winner of the Republican primary on March 1st, and that election would be the first Tuesday in November, which is the general election, November of 2022, and then they would actually be sworn into office on January 1st of 2023.
So this thing, I mean, it could go, we could see it stretched out, or we could just see it end in March 1, and bada bing, bada boom, we have.
That is correct. If there are only Republican candidates, then essentially the race is over March 1st. But that winner wouldn't take office until the 1st of January 2023.
Gotcha. Well, the big announcement today, as you saw and you can find on StAngeloLive.com, is former publisher of this website, Joe Hyde, has thrown his name into the ring, so to speak, as he would say, as he begins his campaign for Tom Green County Judge, challenging now Mr. Todd Coles, local jewelry store owner and entrepreneur. So this is we're not expecting them to be the only two. We could see someone else, as we said, perhaps another Lane Carter throw his name into the hat there. So we shall see.
It will be an interesting campaign, and certainly looking at the quality of candidates, I'm looking forward to it, and I think that the voters and the people of Tom Green County are going to benefit.
Absolutely. One last thing, please join Yanis Green as each and every week for the next few weeks, we will talk to as many politicians as we can that are going to be running for public office. Yesterday we spoke with Mr. Ron Perry, who's running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3 out at in Grape Creek, Carlsbad, Water Valley, in that northern area of Tom Green County. You can catch that interview on the website SanAngeloLive.com. I'm sure you're the Politico in you, Yanis. It's always such a treat to just sit and chat with you about this.
That's right. This is my football season.
Yes, this is your football season.
This is what I'm interested in, what I enjoy doing, and we'll see. Hopefully, we can bring shed a little light on what goes on as the campaign trail continues.
Absolutely. All righty. Well, it's been fun. It's been real, as we say on Cover One Live during football season. In the meantime, if you like you said, if you want to catch Joe's official announcement, you can catch it on our website SanAngeloLive.com. But in the meantime, I think that about wraps it up, wouldn't you say?
I think so, Manny. I think we're done.
All right. Until next time, for Yanis Green, I'm Manny Diaz. God bless.